For the next 4 weeks, I'll be traveling by myself through India.
Head to the red fort, traffic is thick.
Starting in North India, I'll spend some time in Delhi and Agra before heading east to the spiritual cities of Bodhgaya and Varanasi. Then it's south to the jungle and beaches of Goa, where I'll be filming a documentary about an Indian beekeeper and dancing in the new year on the beach. Finally, I'll get a little bit off the beaten path to spend a few days in the city of Aurangabad, exploring the nearby Ajanta and Ellora Caves, before ending my trip in the amazing city of Mumbai.
Alright, so heading to Bodhgaya, the backpackers area, but I really don't know where I'm going here.
West guy Kuru and Khan. Kuru and Khan, okay. My friend.
Very strong. Everybody say namaste.
Namaste.
All right, first leg, heading to the airport and looking forward sort of to a 14-hour flight landing in New Delhi in about 10 and a half hours into the future. My amazing brother is being the chauffeur. It's cold in Canada, it'll be warmer in India. We'll see you there. I'm both nervous and excited to start this whole adventure. The seed was planted years ago to visit India. After a 3-month trip to Nepal back in 2001 and meeting other travelers who were simply gushing about India, I knew I had to go. Almost every year since, my annual holiday planning usually started with India. I'd plan my route, do the research, learn more and more about the places I wanted to see. And always it was put off for another day. Someday. India seems so big, so overwhelming, so much time and planning to do the big one, the Mecca of solo backpacking. I enjoyed all the other trips that I'd substituted over the years. Thailand, Costa Rica, the Caribbean, Guatemala. But finally, it was time for the big one. I could come up with a million excuses for why it took me so long. But truthfully, fear stopped me. This year, I decided to meet my fears head on, embrace them, and just book the damn trip. I arrived in Delhi around midnight after a brutal 16-hour flight from Toronto. A driver was waiting to pick me up and bring me to my guest house, a homestay in the south end of the city. I'd pre-arranged accommodation for the first 10 days of my trip with the help of a company called India Someday, whose name immediately resonated with me, and they ended up being super helpful throughout the whole trip. After arriving at the guest house, I was exhausted and I hit the mattress hard. So I did arrive in Delhi, really excited to get out there and start exploring. I'm staying in South Delhi and woken up at 5:30 a.m. because the prayers are paraded through the streets. A group of maybe 100 people or so sort of walking by drumming, and they had a loudspeaker and they were singing their prayers, and I simply couldn't get back to sleep after that. So just thought I'd show you the guest house here. I'm traveling independently, but got all my transportation and accommodation booked for the first 10 days anyways, and then I'm going to fly to South India, and from there it'll be a full-on adventure with nothing pre-booked. Sort of typical Indian bathroom shower room. You do need to turn the tank on a few minutes before taking your shower. Had a little bit of issues trying to figure out how to both turn on and turn off the lights. Kind of a bonus here is that I got my own private balcony out here, which is kind of nice. Just heading out to figure out the metro. I'm planning to see the Red Fort, Spice Market, Chandi Chowk, and basically just going to wander around my first day in Delhi, in India. Very excited. All right, guys, heading out in Delhi, trying to figure out the metro and having an adventure. Here we go. So it looks like I might have found it here. It appears to be the right place. Chandi Chowk means moonlit square, and it's one of the oldest and busiest markets in the city. Built 300 years ago as the main street in Old Delhi, the area is a huge market for everything from spices to fabrics, jewelry and hardware. There's lots of food and fresh chai tea.
All right, so heading to Paharganj, which is the backpackers area. Jumped in a rickshaw because I've been walking around. I really don't know where I'm going here. I'm tired, need some lunch, so that's where we're heading.
Ah, Delhi. Wrap me in your busy arms, surprise me with your old school charms, wash over me and overwhelm with your colors, music, sweet and sour smells. Incense, spices, cows and shit and fresh chai tea. I take a sip on all your quirks and street thick vibes. Turning corners, turning minds, finding forts and tuk-tuk rides. Exotic, chaotic, almost narcotic. In your old streets, now that I'm here. Thanks for the invite, Delhi, my dear.
All right, so headed to the Red Fort here. Sorry, I'm talking to my phone. Heading to the Red Fort. Traffic is thick.
A UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Red Fort, or Lal Killa, was originally white, with parts of the building made from limestone. When the white stone started chipping off, the fort was painted red by the British. Every year on Independence Day, India's Prime Minister gives a speech and raises the national flag here. This tradition has been continuing since the first Independence Day of India. After a long first day in India, I found my way to a metro station, but it was rush hour and the crush of people trying to get into the cars was a bit intimidating. When the train arrived, I noticed one of the cars was almost empty for some reason, and I made a beeline for it. I didn't realize until after I got on that it was reserved for women only. No one said anything to me, and I sheepishly made my way to the men's car and kind of leaned myself into the massive bodies. Later, I picked up a weird corn and paneer pizza near my homestay and chilled out on the balcony. Tomorrow would be an early morning to catch a train to Agra to see the Taj Mahal.
Hi I'm staying in South Delhi. It's an Afghan neighborhood. The nice thing is that the express train that will take you to Agra is only about a 10 or 15 minute rickshaw ride away. Agra, of course, is where the Taj Mahal is. Been waiting a long time to see this, so really looking forward to it.
I started feeling emotional on the train shortly after leaving. It was settling in that I was finally in India, and knowing that I was within a few breaths of finally experiencing the Taj Mahal after so many years of dreaming about it, it was all a bit overwhelming. I quietly dabbed my eyes and hoped no one noticed. A fast 90-minute train ride later, and we arrived in Agra. I introduced myself to Julie and Mark from Britain, and we decided to hire a taxi and guide together for the day. Our guide Khan quickly proved his worth as he somehow hustled us through the huge long lineup to the Taj, mostly just by yelling at everybody to get out of the way. The Taj Mahal means crown of palaces, and it's India's most famous mausoleum. Made entirely of marble, it took over 22,000 laborers 20 years to build, and it was finished in 1653.
Khan, you're the man. You're the man.
My God. My name's Shehzad Khan.
And me?
Your name, Mr. Crook.
Kuru.
Kuru Kuru.
All right.
Attracting over 1 million tourists a year, apparently this particular spot is the best spot at the Taj to get your picture taken.
Hi.
This is
He's
Khan.
my friend, Mr.
He's the
Crook.
best guide in the world.
He's the best guy.
Kuru and Khan.
Kuru and Khan.
That's right.
My friend.
Turns out, though, that Khan is a bit of a con artist. After the Taj Mahal, we asked Khan and our driver to take us to Agra Fort. Khan had other ideas. Instead, he took us to a carpet shop,
They are not well-known person,
gem shop,
but always they buy on trust.
His franchise is here.
a ceramics workshop, music store,
Sir.
No, thank you. I'm good.
and some other shop.
So this is the stone is
I gotta say, I like the music store. And we got to jump in a yarn. Finally, after lunch, Khan brought us to Agra Fort. Originally built in 1565 by Emperor Akbar as a military structure, at the end of his life it ended up being his prison, where he was locked in by his own son for political reasons. It's said that his room had a decent view of the Taj Mahal, which he had just finished building a few years earlier. So, in the middle of the night, I woke up with a bad case of Delhi belly. It might have been the train food I had on the ride back from Agra. I was sick for most of the next 24 hours. The family I was staying with were super nice, and they helped nurse me back to health. It was one of the things I was most worried about on my trip coming to India, so at least I got it checked off the list right away. I was flying to Bodhgaya, the place of Buddha's enlightenment. It's the most important Buddhist pilgrimage site in the world, and I'd been waiting to come here for years. I'd be staying with a large family who run the Terra Guest House, which helps support a local children's school. I was hesitant to stay here at first because it's on the outskirts of town, but it turned out to be a great place to meet other travelers, and it was really nice to get to know the host family.
So I'm here in Bodhgaya. Bodhgaya is where Prince Siddhartha attained enlightenment about 2,600 years ago. I became familiar with Bodhgaya a number of years ago when I spent a month at a Tibetan monastery in Nepal, just outside of Kathmandu. And after the retreat, all the monks from the monastery were going to basically doing a pilgrimage overland to Bodhgaya, where the Dalai Lama comes and teaches. It's called Kalachakra for several weeks over January and February. So what I'm doing now is I'm looking for the Roots Institute, which is affiliated with Kopan Monastery in Nepal. It's been a lot of years since I've been waiting to come here. Maybe I'll become enlightened.
The Roots Institute was founded by Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who resides over Kopan Monastery in Nepal. Students from all over the world come to study here, and Richard Gere, a longtime follower of Buddhism and a regular visitor to Bodhgaya, was due to show up in a few days.
I know you. Come closer.
So I'm just going to talk quietly here. Meditation is in session. What a beautiful, peaceful place. Really brings back memories of Kopan for me. So the Dalai Lama is going to be arriving here in Bodhgaya the day after I leave. I'm sure he's going to be quite disappointed that he missed me. A little bit later on in the day, I'm going to be heading down to the Mahabodhi Temple, which is the temple that was erected where the Buddha attained enlightenment. Yeah. Okay, dhanyavad. Namaste.
Bodhgaya is like Mecca for Buddhists, and it's the holiest of 4 pilgrim destinations. Later in my trip, I'll also be visiting Sarnath, another holy site where the Buddha gave his first teaching after attaining enlightenment. Bihar is the poorest state in the country, and it has a bit of a reputation for being somewhat lawless. A little like the Old West, depending where you are. A big sign at the airport greets visitors on arrival, reminding you that alcohol is strictly forbidden in the state. Bong lassis, however, are on a few of the menus here. The Mahabodhi Temple was built on the exact spot where Buddha achieved enlightenment after meditating under a Bodhi tree 2,600 years ago. Buddhists from all over the world come to Bodhgaya to meditate and do prostrations under the temple and under the Bodhi tree, a descendant of the original. temple was built in 260 BC by Emperor Ashoka and is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. In 2003, the complex was bombed and security is tighter. The energy here is palpable, and it's one of the most peaceful places I've ever experienced. It's said that thousands of years of karma can be purified by simply walking around the temple a few times. And I did my best to knock off a few years. My time in Bodhgaya was wrapping up, and I'd be leaving tomorrow for Varanasi, another pilgrimage city in India, this time for Hindus. I'll never forget this place though, and if I'm lucky, I hope to be back one day.
They're piping monk chanting through the sound system, which is calming. So next stop is Varanasi. After an amazing few days here in Bodhgaya, it's only about a half an hour flight to Varanasi, and we're spending 5 days there, 4 nights, and it's Christmas today.
I'd read about Varanasi in a travel magazine about 1 million years ago, and I've wanted to visit the city ever since. It sounded so mysterious, otherworldly. It was hard to believe that I was finally bumping down the back alleys of this old city. Varanasi, once known as Benares, is India's most sacred city, and it's one of the oldest living cities in the world. Hindus believe that dying here and having their ashes thrown in the Ganga River brings salvation from the cycle of reincarnation. There are cremations on the banks of the river 24 hours a day, and the city can be a bit overwhelming. I was planning on spending several days in Varanasi, and I'd booked a room at the Kedareshwar guest house, which had a great balcony overlooking the river. My room did come with a monkey warning though, which meant keeping the doors and windows locked. The next morning, I headed out to explore the city and wander around the back alleys and the ghats of Varanasi.
Nice, well done. Yeah. Woo! Very strong.
Wood is a big business in Varanasi. Bodies are continuously burned on the banks of the river, and a lot of wood is needed for the cremations. Wood is sold by weight with different prices for different types. The wealthier you are usually means a longer, hotter cremation. It's disrespectful to film or take photographs of the cremations, but this photo shared on Wikipedia gives an idea of what the cremation sites look like. Every night, just after sunset, Hindus gather at the main ghat to witness a religious ritual called the Ganga Arti, with offerings of prayer and worship to the Ganga River. I made my way to the Arti from my hotel, about a half-hour walk along the ghats.
Be careful for your money, purse, camera and mobile.
The mystical experience is nothing other than becoming aware of your true physical relationship to the universe.
out of the blue, I was given a blessing, unsolicited, and it only cost me the change in my pocket.
I don't think I have some.
The enterprising holy man clearly didn't think I'd given enough, especially considering the long life that I'd just been blessed with.
Thunderstruck.
These last few days in Varanasi have been extraordinary. It's a city that needs to be experienced. The sounds, the smells, the chaos. It's truly the most different place I've ever experienced in my life. I loved Varanasi. If I didn't have a schedule, I'd absolutely stay for a few more days. But the next leg of my trip was booked, and I was headed south to the jungle and the beaches of Goa. Agonda is a small, quiet beach village away from the party scene in the north. The cows are super chill here, and it's a good place to relax after the busyness of North India. I met some new friends and spent New Year's on the beach.
I do this press. No press the flower.
Prior to coming to India, I'd arranged to shoot a documentary about beekeeping on an organic spice farm in the area. In Goa, I'd met Adele, a British filmmaker, and we decided to work together. Tanchikar Spice Farm is a small family-run business. Chinmay and his family give tours and sell spices from their farm. He also started beekeeping a few years ago, and we were there to interview him about the local practices of Indian beekeeping. We were staying overnight in one of the eco-lodges on the farm, and our rooms were a few minutes walk through the jungle.
I've never quite been brought to a hotel like this.
Here you can see also queen bee of stingless honey. So these bees cannot sting, but they annoy you. They just try to stuck in your hairs and only hairs, ears, they go everywhere. This is a bird, not a human being. Whistle like a human being. It's a Malabar whistling thrush. Always whistle like this in the early in the morning and the late evening. In the daytime, it's only long whistle. You can have. Okay. It's nice with a pollen also inside, yeah? Anyway.
The whole thing?
Yeah. Just suck it.
Oh, thank you so much. Which one should I try?
Yeah. There are pollen also inside, so it's more healthy.
so it drips.
The next day, Adele and I headed back to the coast. But I was growing tired of the beach scene, and I really wanted to get back to traveling, so I found a driver who would drive me to Panjim, the capital of Goa, a 2-hour drive north. Panjim is the capital of Goa, and it's totally different than any city I visited so far in India. The Portuguese roots here are evident. Nice cobblestone roads, nice churches, no cows in the streets. I wandered around town, and then I found a boat that was taking a tour of the harbor. I was the only Western tourist on board, and soon enough I had lots of requests for selfies. I think I took a picture with every single passenger on the boat. And then... Later that night, I'd bumped into some friends I'd met at Tanshikar Spice Farm. We had dinner together, and then I went back to my hotel to try and figure out the next leg of my trip. I only had the room booked for the night, and had no idea what I was going to do or where I would go tomorrow. Then I remembered a friend telling me about some interesting ancient caves. I did some Googling and discovered they were located a few hours north. I booked a flight on my phone. Tomorrow, I was flying to the city of Aurangabad. I was headed north to visit the caves of Ajanta and Ellora. There was a flight change partway through the trip, but I was told to stay on the plane. The thing is, I was the only one left on the plane. Everyone left, including the pilots and crew. Then a cleaning crew barged on and cleaned the whole plane in about 5 minutes flat.
Okay, so I'm in the city of Aurangabad. The next couple days I'm going to be exploring the Ellora Caves and the Ajanta Caves. This city is Buddhist, Muslim, and about 60% Hindu, so sort of an interesting mix. But today I'm just sort of exploring. I might actually go to the zoo, not sure. Might visit the old Muslim quarters. But looking forward to seeing what this new state has to offer.
Alright, so what the heck? I decided to pay my 20 rupees and see the zoo. I just want to see a leopard. So far I haven't actually seen any animals yet. Well, a few penguins. So I realized after wandering around for a while and sort of getting laughed at for getting my picture taken on a camel that the animals are in a different section of the zoo. So now it won't be statues of animals, it'll be real animals, like these guys. What's up with the garden hose, buddy? Hey? The school kids here all have whistles and like air horns, and they like to blast the animals out of their sleep like that. I'm not actually going to film much here because it's a pretty sad state of affairs here at the zoo. Really feel sorry for the animals. So the other thing I noticed is the zoo actually seems to be a place where a lot of sort of young couples come out to hang out. There's not a lot of foreigners in Aurangabad. It's a little bit off the beaten track. So I kind of feel like I'm kind of part of the zoo here. So in conclusion, I suppose if you want to get out of the chaos of the city of Aurangabad and have a little bit of peace and quiet, I suppose you can come here. But I would kind of give this a miss because it's pretty pathetic. Oh, got some rabbits here. Anyway, over and out. Reporting from the zoo of Aurangabad. Better things to do.
I headed back to the hotel, ordered a plate of the spiciest chili peanuts ever served in India, then went to bed early because tomorrow I was heading to the Ajanta Caves.
So these are the Ajanta Caves that I'm heading down to. The Ajanta Caves are ancient Buddhist caves, and I'm really looking forward to seeing these. It was about a 2-hour drive from Aurangabad, but I'm now walking down, and we'll see what we find.
Instead of going to the main gate, I had the driver drop me off at a mountain trail that would take me down to the far end of the caves.
The Ajanta Caves were discovered by an English guy who was out hunting tigers. There's lots of amethyst to be found in this area. So far, with the 2 brief stops we've made, I've had the hard sell for amethyst crystals, people selling crystals. So I'm walking down this path and there's essentially nobody here with me at all.
Ajanta is a series of 29 Buddhist cave monuments carved out over 2,000 years. The caves were used as a retreat during the monsoon for monks, as well as for traveling merchants and pilgrims in ancient India.
So I gotta say, this is causing a little vertigo for me. These last steps here were extremely steep and I sort of picked my way down. I'm not actually really, well, I am scared of heights, but what I'm scared of is I get vertigo and my head starts spinning, and I'm more worried about just passing out on the edge of a cliff than the cliff itself, so I'm picking my way down slowly. I'm actually going to stop the camera for a minute and just take all of this in because it's actually pretty extraordinary here. Beautiful. You can see just over my shoulder there, that's where I walked from and came down through the mountain over the top from the viewpoint, bought some amethyst from a local farmer.
The Ajanta Caves are one of the oldest UNESCO World Heritage Sites in India. Dating back to the 2nd and 1st centuries BC, the paintings and sculptures of Ajanta are considered masterpieces of Buddhist religious art.
These caves are just absolutely gorgeous. Frescoes painted on the ceilings. These were carved out over a number of centuries. Simply amazing. Really truly amazing. Just a quick story. I was just attacked by a monkey. I bought some bananas for lunch, and there's monkeys, spider monkeys all over the place here. And no sooner than I had taken it out of my knapsack here and I started to eat it, this monkey was all over me. It was a big monkey and he wasn't going away. I started screaming at him. One of the security guards came and between the two of us we chased it off. And the other tourists thought it was pretty funny. And I do now, but at the time, not so much. That actually scared the bejesus out of me. Haven't you always wanted a monkey?
Canada.
Lakus. Kahan tonjane? I love India.
Hello. Which country?
Mero desh hai Canada. Yes. Your country?
India.
India.
I'm Indian.
Nice country.
Nice country. Okay, thank you. I'm teacher, all the boys.
Oh, you're the teacher. Oh, okay.
Student.
My name is Curtis. What is your name?
My name is Atharva.
Atharva. Ah, okay.
It's mean Ganpati, Ganesh, Lord Ganesh.
Oh, Ganesh.
Ganesh.
Okay, nice. Good name.
Good name.
Good name.
This is Soham.
Soham. Hi, Soham.
This is Ashwin.
Ashwin. Hello,
Hi,
Ashwin.
Hello, Ashwin. Hi, Kuru. This is Atharva, Mali.
Atharva Mali.
This is Tejas.
Kejas. Hi, Kejas.
And this is Sushant.
Is there a test?
Sushant.
Sushan.
This is Shantanu.
Shantanu.
This is Onkar.
Onka.
And
Nice.
this one
This-
is Prasad.
Prashad.
Take photo
Yes.
Prasad.
Nice. Everybody say namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah, all right. Where are you going? Kahan tonjane?
I'm journey Shangli to Shangli.
Oh, Shangli. Oh, okay.
Shangli,
Okay.
Shangli. This is our Mount Shibai. This is.
Hello.
Take one selfie.
Hello.
Both.
My Hindi Toro.
Toro. You're speaking nice Hindi.
Oh,
nice
bad Hindi.
No.
Bad Hindi.
This is your country. You speaking nice. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Dhanyavad. Bye.
It had been a long day visiting the caves, and my stomach was a bit off. I slept most of the drive back to Aurangabad. My driver bought me a huge melon and insisted I eat the whole thing and go straight to bed. I got through about half of it and called it a night.
They're almost magical looking.
Today I was heading to the Ellora Caves, about a 45-minute drive from Aurangabad. I didn't know much about Ellora, other than that it's one of the largest rock-cut monastery temples in the world. Ellora is a series of caves carved with Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain monuments and artwork. There are over 100 caves at the site, with 34 of them open to the public. I decided to start at the end and work my way back.
The center of Zen training is to live spontaneously.
So today I'm at the Ellora Caves, and these are ancient Hindu sculptures. But the kind of exciting thing for me is just right over my right shoulder here, there's a wild colony of honeybees, which is kind of cool. I've been pointing it out to people as they come along, and nobody seems to be as impressed as I am. See the marquee? In Hindi? Marquee. Okay.
Beehive.
Yes.
That is beehive.
In Canada, I'm a beekeeper. So I saw as soon I was like, oh, nice.
Natural.
Exactly. Yes. Better honey. Big
So
beehive.
your profession is that?
No, hobby. Hobby.
That's what. And where are you working for?
So just behind me here, I'm going to show you in a second that there's a number of people doing some hard work. Very, very hard work. Chipping stones, I'm assuming for pathways here.
Towards the end of the day, I was super tired and almost decided to skip the very last cave. Although it had an impressive entrance, after 33 caves and temples, I was pretty much done for the day. Then I thought, what the heck, might as well go have a quick look. Good decision. Carved out of a single rock, the Kailasha Temple is one of the largest of its kind in the world, with sculptures depicting the gods, goddesses, and mythologies found in Hinduism. The amazing thing is that the entire complex was carved vertically. Carvers started at the top of the original rock and excavated downward. It's an incredible place, and it's a bit crazy to think I'd almost skipped it. The Kailasha Temple was busy with Indian tourists, and I was inundated with selfie requests.
Okay, one selfie?
Sure.
Okay. Come on. Everybody come on.
I get a selfie too though, okay?
Okay.
Namaste.
My rule, for every selfie request, I ask for one back. That's the deal.
So I got to say that the Ellora Caves have simply been just pretty much astounding. If you ever get a chance to come to India and visit the Ellora Caves, highly recommended. Lots and lots of selfies today, which I was more than happy to participate in. Give me a chance to practice my Hindi, which is tola tola, and the kids got to practice their English. So all in all, fantastic day.
My time here in Aurangabad, and India in general, was wrapping up, and I booked a flight to Mumbai, the last leg of my trip. After arriving in Mumbai and finding my taxi driver, we headed to the hotel I'd booked the day before, an almost 2-hour drive through this huge city. It quickly became clear that the driver had no idea where the hotel was, and we spent another hour driving in circles. Eventually we found it, and by this time it was well after midnight and the hotel had given my room to someone else. With some late night help from my friend Abbas at India Someday, I managed to find a room and crash for the night. Formerly known as Bombay, Mumbai is the most populated city in India with over 21 million people. Although it has one of the largest slums in Asia, it's the financial, commercial, and entertainment capital of India, with the highest number of millionaires in the country. After visiting India Gate and some of the local markets, I wandered a little bit outside the city center, and I found myself at a fish market and processing marina. Built in 1875, the Sassoon Dock is one of the oldest docks in Mumbai, and it's one of the largest fish markets in the city. Watching these ladies peel all these shrimp reminded me of a job I had years ago at a local fish and seafood restaurant. I peeled a lot of shrimp back in the day. Later in the afternoon, I found my way to the small office of India Someday, and I got to meet Abbas and his staff, who helped me with the planning of my trip and provided great support along the way. If you need help planning an independent trip to India, I highly recommend these guys. On the taxi ride back to the airport, I was finding it hard to believe the trip was finally coming to an end. I met a lot of good people over the last few weeks, and I saw some extraordinary places. I learned about Indian culture, history, religion, and even a few new dance moves along the way. And although it took me a long time to finally visit this amazing country, it was the right time for me. I was ready to go back to regular life and hopefully bring some new perspectives back with me, like patience, understanding, compassion, and a reminder of how fortunate we are living in the West. We have so much to be grateful for. I hope to be back to India someday.